Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip. Jeff will be joining us shortly. He'll be here in a few moments. And we've got a lot to unpack tonight. First of all, we're going to talk about the SEC. We're going to talk a little bit about crypto. John Deaton's open letter to the SEC, Chair Gary Gensler. And that all starts right now. You ready to get started? Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip. Please drop the location where you guys are located, the city and the state, and I will read a bunch of them. But also, too, if you're watching on the rewatch, do that as well. And also, of course, I want to pretty much remind everybody to like, subscribe, click that notification bell, because when you do that, that means the YouTuber algorithms are tickled, and it's always a good thing. A lot of likes, subscribes, and of course, if you share it, it really helps out the channel. Now let's dive in. I want to dive in head first into this right here. This is an open letter by John Deaton that was sent to Gary Gensler, and he tweeted this out a little bit earlier today. Let's look at this. So first off, we've got following email and open letter were sent to Gary Gensler. Dear Chairman Gensler, my name is John Deaton, and I am an attorney who represents over 60,000 XRP holders. Judge Torres granted us amicus status in the SEC versus Ripple case. You know, if you look at that right there in its head, not a bad open. He's basically saying, what's up? How are you? I'm John Deaton, and I represent over 60,000 XRP holders. Now, it's interesting that he called them holders, and he didn't call them investors, but holding it, right? I like that. That was an interesting choice of words there. Now, let's go dig a little bit deeper here. Let's go in here. And let's take a look here. It says the SEC under your predecessor. Of course, we know the predecessor was none other than Jay Clayton. He was the chair prior to Gary Gensler. It didn't limit the allegations to only include sales of XRP made by Ripple. Incredibly, the SEC lawyers are alleging the token itself is a security per se. This argument is akin to claiming the oranges were the securities in the Howey test. Now, if we break this down, he has a really good point, right? If you're claiming that the token itself, it's kind of like looking at the Howey test. Now, the Howey test was a Supreme Court ruling that happened in 1947. The Howey company was an Orange Grove, and I always have this sort of opinion that Howey, the gentleman, he passed away when they brought the suit, but he was a politician. I think he ruffled a lot of feathers. I think he was a little bit of a rabble rouser. I think he sort of got everybody's energy up a little bit. So there may be something there. So this is what we know as the four prongs of the Howey test. And John Deaton's making a great assertion here, saying that the lawyers alleging that the token itself is a security is like alleging the argument that the oranges and the security in the Howey test, right? Let's read it a little more. He says, well, with all due respect, it's an absurd claim, and it's caused significant damage to retail holders of XRP, many whom utilize the token as a transfer/bridge asset, not as an investment. Over 1/2 of all XRP holders purchased XRP for the first time, completely unaware of the company Ripple. Now, if you look at this channel right here, if you are a Coil subscriber, you go to coil.com. If you're a Coil subscriber on YouTube, we've got the plugin, which means if you're watching in a browser that you're running the Coil, whether it's Brave or it's a Chrome browser, if you're running the plugin, every day we get an email that tells us, hey, you got this much XRP. Sometimes it's fractional, sometimes it's over, 1 XRP. It depends how many people watch with the Coil plugin. Now, funny enough, what does that have to do with Ripple? It has nothing to do with Ripple. The fact that we've had this plugged in, and since we started, it's been over. It's been quite a few. I think it's been over like 1,000 XRP, just like micro streaming payments. That has nothing to do with Ripple. The use case itself is just one use case that if Ripple wasn't around, so what? Our channel would go on, fingers crossed, that we would just continue to earn XRP because of the fact that we're grateful for the audience that has Coil subscriptions. So that's kind of a nice sort of a play there. Now, let's take a look at this. He says, as you know, XRP was publicly traded for over 7 years before the SEC brought its suit. If the SEC was only arguing XRP sold by Ripple constituted securities, there wouldn't be 61,000 XRP holders taking a position against your agency. Now, this is a very fair statement and argument because wait 7 years. This is where I believe Jeff and I talk about this all the time, the fair notice, right? Fair notice. Let's wait 7 years. I think it was a little over 7 years before they brought the suit. Let's wait 7 years. Year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we'll bring the suit. Funny thing is, though, some people like Jay Clayton are no longer there that actually dropped the suit. And there were some meetings that took place with Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler prior to Clayton's leaving. So that's interesting, too. That's kind of a weird anomaly in itself. Let's go in here. So Judge Torres has recognized the need for the court to consider our meaningful perspective. Former Chairman Clayton agreed that the security does not strictly adhere to the underlying instrument. William Hinman made the same point during his June 14th, 2018 speech. This is the famous Yahoo speech that he made. He was at some Yahoo event and really kind of gave what many think was a free pass to Ethereum and Bitcoin. However, I'm not so sure, given the fact that what's going on today, because you go back to 2014 and 15, you could easily argue that it was a security at the time. It was not decentralized. Then he talks about Commissioner Hester Peirce has stated that the digital asset itself is not the security. But that's okay. He's not going to read her safe harbor, nor is he going to give her any credence when it comes to her opinion. Hell, she's only been there for a good period of time. Why wouldn't you listen to her? They call her crypto mom for a reason, because she's pro-crypto. But she stated that the asset itself, it's not the security. More significantly, the Southern District of New York Court has held that the digital asset itself is not the security. And this is in the Telegram case, right? How different is that? It's not. So this is where I think the Ripple attorneys are going to just crush it. And because there's precedents already set. And you go back to case law, you go back to the Telegram, when you go to the Southern District of New York, has also ruled that it's not the security. What about Hester Peirce? Well, she's also said it's not a security, right? So again, why are we having this conversation anyway? As you know, the scheme, and I love that he calls it the scheme, marketing and promises of inducements made by promoters of the asset is what creates an investment contract, not the underlying asset itself. Any commodity can be packaged, marketed, and sold as a security. And Jeff and I have brought this up multiple times. We've really kind of played this up. The fact that I think they get a little bit confused about the way it's marketed, the way it's purchased, the asset itself, not the security, especially when it's decentralized. And when we had Matt Hamilton from Ripple X on here, he really did a phenomenal job. And if you haven't seen that, I recommend you go back and take a look at that. You can go to onthechain.io. Just click on the search, type Matt Hamilton, the video will pop right up. Easiest way to find it. It's a YouTube video, or you can listen to it if you want. But he really, really stressed the whole idea about why XRP is a decentralized asset. And in this case, the underlying asset is not the security itself. Then he says, but your lawyers are arguing that all secondary market sales made by non-Ripple entities or affiliates are also investment contracts with Ripple. This argument is direct contradiction of 75 years of case law, and it's being made under your watch, and it's damaging individuals. Now, the part I like about right here is when he talks about 75 years of case law. We just talked about case law as it refers back to the Telegram case in the Southern District of New York, but this is it. Anytime an attorney is trying to make a point, you can go back to case law. It sets the precedence, 75 years. And I love he talks about that, because there is a precedence of 75 years. And I love how he's bringing this up, made under your watch. And I have stated that I believe that this is Gensler's biggest downfall, because he'll be famous for all the wrong reasons, for losing one of the biggest crypto cases in history. That's what I believe, because I just don't feel like the law is on his side as far as what he's interpreting. And Deaton really kind of covers it a little bit later in this letter. He says, your mission, sir, was to protect these people. Ooh, a nice uppercut. Not hurt them, which is exactly what I think we've been talking about here. And I respectfully request a brief meeting with you and your senior staff to discuss this grave and important issue. I love it right now because now he's getting down to brass tacks. He's laying it out. He's saying, your mission, sir, as the SEC, and if you know the mission statement of the SEC, is to protect investors. Not exactly what happened in this case. And something else we're going to talk about a little bit later. Stellar has been kind of pressing on with MoneyGram, and MoneyGram severed the relationship with Ripple over this case. So that's just one example of lost funds, right? It says there's a viable path allowing the SEC to pursue Ripple for sales of XRP, but leaves the individual holders not connected to Ripple alone. Judge Torres has agreed to listen to what we have to say. Will you? I look forward to your response. John Deaton, amicus counsel. Beautifully done, John Deaton. Really, really like the way he laid that out there. K-HUD says it, yeah, flawless, right? What's amazing about this is a few panels. Twitter, obviously, you have to watch the word count and the title count, and he beautifully lays it out and calls attention to a number of things. Number one, John Deaton is like laying Gary Gensler out, but in a beautifully executed way. Says, hey, man, you're supposed to protect the investors. That's not what happened. And if Judge Torres is granting us the opportunity to listen to what we have to say, well, why the hell shouldn't you, Mr. Gensler, right? And I would say, well, why wouldn't Mr. Gensler say that? It seems only fitting that that's exactly what he probably should do and would do. Now, I think we all know how this ends. Cold shoulder, zero response. So far, when you look at what Deaton's done, he's gotten zero response on anything he's filed. Now, the court has to respond. In this case, Judge Torres did. And it's going to be interesting to see how this stuff pans out. But I really think that this right there was a really phenomenal effort on John Deaton's, and that's why we call him superhero. The first time he appeared on the chain was early in January, right after he filed his paperwork, right, his counterclaim for the XRP holders. And one of the things I call him on the show is like, you're a superhero, man, because superheroes, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, is it Superman that can fly? No. Is it is it like, Aquaman that goes underwater? No. Is it Wonder Woman that can, has all those amazing things that she can do? Like the bracelets, the magic bracelets and all that? No. Or akin to, let's say, Batman, because Batman is just a male mortal, but Batman kicks some serious ass. Let's face it, right? Batman's not like, he doesn't fly. He doesn't, he can't swim underwater forever. He doesn't have any of those, but he is a badass. And the Dark Knight series really goes on to show. And I'm like, you want to call someone a badass? It's John Deaton. He is the Dark Knight. He is in our corner and he's sticking up. Now, the funny part about this is Deaton, aside from being an XRP holder himself, is just doing this because he believes in it, not getting paid. It's all pro bono, but he's going forward with something he believes in. And I think that's phenomenal. So I wanted to highlight this too. Now, Eleanor Terret, she is, if you don't know who she is, she's a producer and journalist producer for Charlie Gasparino on the Fox Business Network. I want to throw this up because this is kind of interesting. Now, it really kind of plays in to what we were just looking at, and let's look why. Here we go. Let's go here. So this is Eleanor Terret. She says, here's an update on our efforts to reach out to Gary Gensler and the SEC. A press spokesperson was responsive at first, but when we sent them a draft of our Ripple versus SEC Opus for comment, they went radio silent. Geez, how about that, huh? So in the beginning, they're like, wait a minute, Fox Business? Wait, Fox Business is calling to have, it's one of the #1 rated shows in the U.S. As far as business, I'm talking about like globally, but business in the U.S. does very well. Wait a minute, you're calling for comment? This is great. But then they send over the Ripple versus SEC Opus and say, hey, could you comment on this? Silence. Silencia. Nada. There's nothing going on. just stops right there. Now, given what we just read with John Deaton, it kind of like makes a lot of sense that that's what we would be, where we would be. He said, went radio silent. And then she says she sent several follow-up emails since last week, has not heard back. Wow, huh? That's interesting. And so initially on the face, it seemed like, oh, Gensler has another opportunity to speak. Oh yeah, I'm all in. But then when it comes down to it, all of a sudden he wants basically nothing to do it because they set the SEC v Ripple Opus over there. And that to me is just, it speaks volumes about where we are and what's going on. And there were some comments to that too that I think I should throw up too. Let me throw this up there. So someone named Bulldog Brewer says, hey, how long do you typically give for responses without moving forward with publishing with comment that they reached out to for comment but received no response? Now, we've seen this often when you're we're watching television, right? It says like, we reached out to so-and-so for comment, but they were unreachable or they would give no comment. Well, a lot of times the story develops and it happens within the first 5 or 10 minutes. And then they're like, or a couple hours and they were unreachable for comment, what we usually typically hear. So what Eleanor is saying here is that we're giving them as long as it takes for us to hit publish, which will be sometime before Thanksgiving, right? So Thanksgiving here in the United States is next Thursday. So we will not be broadcasting next Thursday and probably potentially Wednesday too, because, that's might be, we'll see how that works. But yeah, by the way, this is a good, BZ says Gary would be a perfect penguin villain. Yeah, I think you're right about that. If you guys can think of some other villains, I'd like you to throw those up too. But yeah, I can totally see him as a penguin villain, no doubt. So I love this. She's like, we'll give it as long as it takes before we hit publish. That's a long time, right? Before Thanksgiving. So that's a few more days into this next week, into the weekend. And that's kind of incredible, right? So James Rule says, thank you. And let's see if we see some other responses here. Crypto EPH says, you really should be ashamed of yourself. A taxpayer-funded department refusing to respond to those U.S. citizens who've been hurt as a direct response by yourselves. I mean, incredible, right? And I'm getting a notification here. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Who've been hurt as a direct response by yourself. I sure hope that a healthy slice of karma comes for you soon, Gary. And, I think it was John Lennon that said, I'm going to get you if instant karma doesn't get you first, if that's how I remember it. And so you look at this here and Jimmy Life says, I'm paraphrasing, but like Charlie Gasparino said, when the SEC, Gary Gensler and ETH token factory fail to respond, maybe there's only one side. Bureaucracy is as an excuse for legal collusion and corruption cannot be tolerated. How many retail investors can get away with that BS, right? So look at these comments. They're so well crafted, beautifully written. This is an educated, as I said, this crypto community completely knows what's going on and are not sitting back taking it. You've got Lionel here who says, publish. You gave the SEC and Gary Gensler a chance to respond. You've been very fair. And I'm sure once you publish, they'll be keen to respond. I don't actually think that they will. It's possible, but I don't know if that'll actually happen. And thank you for that, K-HUD. Chip and Jeff on the chain. That's absolutely right. Jeff will be joining. He's just running a little bit late. So I am holding down the proverbial fort here over at the On the Chain headquarters. Crypto says, nope, they'll keep their mouth shut because they have to, right? You won't until they can hide the answers and questions you ask. When you feel the momentum is there, they'll agree to interviews. Then you may get a standard written response, one of those crafted like form letters that a lot of people have been receiving from their senators and the representatives here as they've been reaching out to them via the John Deaton, his little interface that he published out there. So yeah, they'll get back, or it's just going to be a personal opinion and little laugh emoji, of which they'll post the opinion on the SEC government website, which looks a little bit like that. And then Jimmy Life chimes in again and says, regulators such as Gary, Jay, and Bill, the risk is calculated no different than what we do when investing in crypto. Risk-reward decision making, and for them, the many millions of dollars they can make in their minds far outweigh any backlash they're concerned about. And again, man, just getting beat up and hammered in this whole thing. It's incredible. Beat up, slammed in the face, hammered. And I gotta say that this was quite the deal here. Jeff, are you coming in here, Jeff? Where are you, man? I need you to come on, pop in. There he is. Boom. Come on in, man. You ready?
I am ready. What is up?
I'll tell you what's up. I was streaming for the first 5 minutes without any sound, so I had to redo it.
Sweet.
I started the show over because I wanted to be good on the replay. And then thank you for somebody that hit a super chat. I was on such a roll too. No, nobody heard it, Jeff.
And it was awesome.
Yeah, I was like,
And that's some good stuff.
you could see all my mannerisms, and I was excited about it. I was like, there was nobody to talk to, and everyone's like, so someone finally hit a super chat and said, dude, you have no sound. I was like, all right, we're gonna replay it. And of course, that's what we love. Half the people came in and they're like, this is BS. There's no sound here, Jeff. I can't even cope. This is no cool. So
Nice.
it's not cool at all.
Nice. So we got a long show ahead.
Well, yeah, I think it was probably like the first 5 minutes. I'll tell you what we hit. We hit that Deaton open letter, man. That was just fantastic. It was a really good one. How you doing tonight, man? You doing all right?
Doing good, man. I'm happy. Had a meeting and I finally was able to step down as president. So
nice.
it was awesome. And then they went through the board and they said, and so I had to run the meeting I said to the new president, I said, well, now that I nominated you as president, you can take over, right?
See you, suckers.
He goes, no, you gotta run the rest of the meeting. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I ran the rest of the meeting and it was good, so we went through the rest of the board and then I said, went through all the different, I ended up as director. It was perfect because they kept looking at me like, vice president, nope. Treasurer, nope. Secretary, nope. All right, director, that's it. I told him I'd stay on the board.
Good. Well, I mean, it took a lot of your time. I mean, God bless you for doing it. I mean, really. I mean, it's a lot. What are you going to do? It's a lot of
awesome.
a lot of effort, right?
That was great. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so
Where'd you go?
I'm right here. Sorry, I was used to clicking that button because I was soloing it. But check this out, Jeff. Los Angeles iconic Staples Center. This is so weird when I'm so used to watching, LeBron James play in the Staples Center. It's been the Staples Center for a good number of years, but now it is going to be renamed Crypto.com Arena.
How cool is that?
Oh, it's badass, man. And it's funny, you can see that on top. It's kind of hard to see because this is a news thing, but it says Staples Center there, so it'll say Crypto.com probably on the roof as well. But it's in downtown Los Angeles. It's home to several local sports teams like the Lakers. It'll be renamed Crypto.com Arena. The owner, AEG, announced on Tuesday.
Dude, 20 years. They signed a 20-year contract, $700 million over 20 years. I wonder, what do you think FTX is paying for the Miami Arena?
I don't know what they're paying for the Miami Arena, but I know it was American Airlines Arena that had that also on the top of the roof, too. So any of those aerial photos, the whole arena is named.
Yeah.
So interestingly enough, I don't know if we've seen FTX on the top of the, why Miami too? Because they've gotten into naming sports teams as well. So that's been pretty interesting. Yeah, since it opened in '99, it's been known as the Staples Center. That's why I'm saying it'd be so weird. I was American Airlines Arena. It was like, so where the Miami Heat play, and it's so weird to call it FTX Arena, so it's, so then you get a little
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it speaks volumes of what's happening. We're like, well, when's mass adoption? Well, everything's getting the takeover. I'm wondering in the Thanksgiving Macy's parade, will there be a crypto float? You know what I mean? Will it be something in there? I mean,
it should have a Bitcoin float, an XRP float.
Yeah, I watch that every year, and it's the lamest thing ever. And it's a bunch of people lip syncing, but damn it, I gotta watch it. And it's always great to watch with a brew in your hand or some kind of a beverage. Some kind of an adult beverage, Jeff. I quite honestly enjoy that.
So. 135 million for FTX. I wonder how long that was for. Oh, it says right here. Man, look at that. 19-year partnership worth 135 million.
They're probably wanting to renegotiate after that.
I know at this point.
They got a bargain, man.
Holy cow. Can you imagine?
A 19-year partnership for 135 million? Man, they're like,
what a deal.
So what do you think's next? So the New York arena, New York version of that's going to up that, and the next one is going to be it'll be $100 million, and all of a sudden FTX will be like, That looks pretty good right there, man. 135. That's fantastic, man.
135.
I
Man,
think
on
that's
the
a
chain should sponsor something.
yeah. On the chain
We
will
could sponsor like
sponsor
a Little League or something.
yeah, a little league shirt, have on the chain jerseys. But yeah, I'd like to do something like that. Why not?
Yeah.
It'll be on the chain. And people are like, what the hell's on the chain? What are you doing with these kids? Why not put the logo on there? I think it's worth it, Jeff. What do you think?
It's funny. Look at Anonymous. Gary sold all of his XRP at 10 cents. That's why he's so pissed.
Well, he has. We keep hearing about his $140 million treasure chest, that he has, which is I don't know. I mean, honestly, Jeff, do you think how can you be part of MIT's program, in the blockchain cryptocurrency program for 3 years and not own any cryptocurrency? Come on. I mean, I'm not buying that at all. Like, I mean, that's like, I don't know. I mean, give me a good analogy on that, but it doesn't make any sense. You're living, breathing that for 3 years, but you don't invest in cryptocurrency. I mean, come on. That's a little bit hard to believe.
Man. Kevin said we want on the chain t-shirt. And you know
Yeah, well,
what? We
good.
do have one.
Yeah, you can get. Okay, I'll show you where you can get that. Let's pull that up, Jeff. Why not? It's been a while since we've talked about it.
We haven't,
Right?
yeah, we haven't talked about the merch or worn the merch in quite a while.
Well, that's why nobody buys it until we talk about the merch. Let's talk about the merch, Jeff. Let me throw this up right here. I'm throwing it up right here. Here's our merch store, guys. And you know what? It's cool that it does display when you watch one of the videos. But let's look at this right here. Boom. Look at El Jefe again with the big,
El
massive
Jefe.
support. El Jefe.
Nice.
Jeff and Chip, be great to start donations for On the Chain Party and bring XRP community together. We've been talking about
appreciate
that. Yeah, man. We've been talking about that to potentially have a meetup here in Florida. And I think the best time to have that would be January, February. At least in the US, most of the other, it's where, people live in where it's a little bit colder. So they wouldn't mind coming down to Miami for some sort of a meetup or, a deal. And if we can get a sponsored space and some other stuff, we could do some live streaming from there. You can watch Jeff and I live stream. We'll take live questions from the audience. It just sounds like a massive party to me, right?
Maybe we can do it at the FTX arena.
Let's do it at the FTX arena. Why not, man? It'll be massive. Can we fill that thing?
Fill the whole arena.
We'll fill it with 17 people, Jeff. 17. It'd be awesome. Thank you, Alaf. You appreciate that, man. Well, let me throw this up here so you guys can check this out. And it's simply just onthechain.shop, which, obviously it is a shop there, but I'll throw it in there right there. And there's a bunch of cool things you can get. Now, Jeff, I don't think we ever mentioned it, but somebody bought how many of these what was it, hoodies?
Yeah, a whole bunch. Yeah, a whole bunch of the Ripple Strikes Back. That was awesome.
Yeah, so the SEC Wars, Ripple Strikes Back. Obviously, a Star Wars sort of a takeoff, but yeah, somebody bought like 30 of them, and I'm thinking it must have been someone from Ripple or something. Who knows? But people always say like, well, Jeff, you don't have they look real big and block. We also have women's shirts too, and then what it has the On the Chain logo on the back. Same with the hoodies. You can see that right there, and there's some other designs too. Right,
There's our favorite one right there, right there.
Can't be 100% sure, but I think it's magic. By the way, I've got my little. When the other day I was somewhere and I opened it up and a bunch of people were like, what's that? What's XRP? Like, because I keep all my in my backpack, I keep all my cables and stuff in there. Some bunch of people commented on it, but different colors too. Nice colors. Women's stuff. There was one of these bags right here where it's got On the Chain on one side, and it's got the XRP saying on the other side. Cool hoodies. Here's nice. A woman's V-neck. So we don't, we do have nice colors too.
All sorts of stuff. Look at that.
I don't think we're just like, we have stuff for the ladies too, nice regular neck and different colors. And if you click into anything, you get a cool sort of like Yeti type tumbler right there where you can get that and XRP on one side, cool stuff, cool merch. Nice. And yeah, if you click in here, you can see that, got all the sizes right there. You can also change colors. You go like, I like it in purple. Yeah, what the hell? Let's get it in purple. Why not? Gray. So there's a lot of different stuff.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah. So anyway, that's you guys can check that out on your own. But anyway, that's onthechain.shop. Simple.
And we have a whole list of cool ideas that we're going to update the shirts with. But here's Alan over there, Hydroponics, said first day off in a long time.
Yes.
Like 7 days, sitting there drinking a New Belgium Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA. Man,
That
Sounds
sounds
pretty good, right?
delicious. That's an IPA always sounds delicious, especially when you're getting a little lip smacked here. Mm. Well, the water's not bad either. Come on
And
in,
big
the
shout
water's
out
great.
to and big shout out to K Hud. Said I agree, and I don't want to disrespect El Jefe.
Oh, nice. Thank you
El
for that,
Jefe.
K-Hud.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I agree. Yeah, that's really we're gonna have to put something together, Jeff. We got to start thinking about that now. And what we probably want to do is get an idea of who would be willing to, come so we can figure out what kind of a place or size we would need to put
All right,
something like
okay.
that
So
together
we'll start with the idea that we're going to fill the FTX arena, and
and
then
work back.
we'll work
Work
backwards.
back. Or work up from that. Where do you go up from that? Well, that'll be
Well,
the
we'll
Dolphin
work
Stadium
back to
there.
maybe the Cirque Hotel or something like that.
Something
Oh,
like
I've
that.
got
What's going
a incoming
on?
call from a congressional candidate,
Oh, that's great. Well, when is that congressional candidate coming
and
on air
she
with
was
us?
supposed to come on with us. She's calling right now, so I'm gonna have to tell her I'll call her back.
All right, why don't you do that? Put it
Say
on
on a
mute or
call. We'll call back shortly.
right on, Jeff. So, we've been looking at a lot of cool crypto ads lately, right? We saw one recently, which was pretty cool. It was for Coinbase and their partnership. Thought, wow, this is really cool. I want to play this one right here, and I'm not going to say who it is, but I want you guys to guess, and I want you to guess early. Like, what do you think this is? Just based on the theme of what you're hearing, who do you think it is? Let's see who gets it right. Ready? Like
All right.
as E for Rockin says, let's go.
Let's go.
Rob McDermott says, I'm in. AR says, let's go, Gary. All right, beautiful. And E for Rocket says, I'm drinking a Buddha Ranger Future Hop. Man, Jeff, we don't have any good beverages. I have water here.
I've got multiple bottles of water.
So let's listen in, guys. I'm going to play this. It's about 2 minutes long, but let's listen in. We'll probably go full screen with it, but I want to watch the chat as Jeff will. Let's see who gets it first, okay? And if you've seen it, I would say you can still chime in, but I would like to see if you haven't seen this. Let's take a look at it. Ready?
It's great news.
Let's do it.
Por segundo mes consecutivo, la inflación.
The world is full of tensions, all simultaneously pulling on the fabric of our financial system.
Hola, Ma. ¿Todo bien? ¿Qué pasa?
Mira, estoy acá fuera del banco. Ah, pero está cerrado. ¡Qué porquería! ¿Pero qué están haciendo? Déjenme pasar, que necesito sacar dinero.
L'avertissement intervient après que plusieurs rapports ont fait surface sur des voyageurs qui se font voler de force leur argent à des
And that
barrages.
is exactly where we see change peering through. Change that is powered by those who have the skills to create it. Change that includes the unincluded. A change that enables all the financial world has to offer to anyone, anywhere. Driven by technology that helps people to truly own what is theirs.
De l'argent pour mon téléphone, s'il te plaît.
Combien?
Le tout.
We are the bridge builders, connecting those who seek opportunities to those who dare to create them.
Les réfugiés n'ont pas de smartphone, on est d'accord. Bah, on les imprimant plutôt sur ces téléphones. Vous en pensez quoi?
Our calling is to create tools for doing good by doing well.
Ma, no te preocupes. Yo te mando plata.
And doing well by doing good.
Mais sont entrés dans le camp avec l'intention délibérée d'intimider et de voler de l'argent, prenant les dernières épargnes de ceux qui ont plus besoin.
And bridge technical and physical borders with technology for real-world problems. Look, see the opportunities. We just need a way to bridge the obstacles. To create a more just world by acknowledging that everyone is valuable and empower local solutions to solve local problems. The Stellar Network, a universe of opportunity.
What do you think of that, Jeff?
That was pretty powerful. It gets the message across as long as you can read the subtitles.
Yeah, I know.
No, but thought it was really, really well put together. It's interesting because look at when we were doing that Ripple ad, and that one was really, I think that was like over the top amazing. in terms of the music, but this one too, had the
Yeah.
right voiceover. You got the energy of what was going on over there. And there's a big distinction. This one was very much geared towards retail. And it was very clear, you want to send money back home. Here's the easiest way to do it. And they showed like that instant gratification. They sent the money and it was there immediately while they were talking on the phone. And they were so grateful. So,
Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
think that was outstanding.
Jay was the first one to get it. As soon as it started playing, he got it. So I probably saw it before, but a bunch of other ones did as well. So a bunch of people chimed in. But what I liked about it is I always like ads, that can tell stories. There's a lot of stories going on there. Obviously, there's a run on the banks closed, mom's freaking out, talks to the daughter, she's sending money, right? So
Awesome.
yeah,
The
that
banks
right
are closed.
yeah, that right there was pretty cool. Then you got developers. Developers are saying like, well, how do we develop for older phones? How do we develop this for older phones? We got to develop something. So there's a lot of different stories in there. It was really fun to watch. But again, Stellar's built for payments. That's the way they're marketing it, the Stellar Foundation. And they should be next up for being sued by the SEC, Jeff, because it's pretty much about as close as you're going to get to Ripple XRP. So they named it a foundation, whatever. They're still making choices. They're still doing stuff. They're, working with CBDCs. Go ahead, throw that up there.
No, I was just going to I clicked a little too soon. I was waiting for you to finish. But E4 Rockin was saying regarding the phone call that came in, said, thanks, Jeff. You're not taking that call. Shows who you rep. OTC.
Damn right. Not during the
So it goes.
OTC podcast, my
Not
friends.
during OTC. And I even wrote
Hells to
back
the
and
no.
said, hey, we're in the middle of OTC. Come on now.
And then Red says, Jeff and Chip, you're missing thousands of views. You need to change the page to On the Chain XRP Live. And interestingly enough, I'm not sure. I think we almost want to back. Given the response from that last email, Jeff, maybe a little less on the XRP side, but I don't know if we should.
Yeah, no, it's cool. We try to be a little bit asset agnostic. We like other projects. We don't want to leave anybody out, because you get some SHIB coming in here. You want to talk a little bit about the SHIB, want to talk about
Is
the
it
Bitcoin,
SHIB or is
the
it
Ethereum.
SHIB? It's Shibu Inu, so it should be called SHIB.
SHIB
Yes or
or
no?
SHIB or SHIB
Well,
for
SHIB,
short.
but it's Shibu Inu, SHIB. You wouldn't say, "Hey, Steve," you say Steven, and you call, "What's up, Stev?" What?
Yeah, but if you left off the E at the end of the Steve, right? You had Steven, and
Doesn't
then you
change.
said, but then it's
Crypto
just
G,
STEV.
it's SHIB. It's like SHEEB, SHIB.
Right.
Oh, that's what I call. You call it SHIB,
I
I'll
mean, you
call it
can say
SHIB.
it,
Potato,
Chip. You can
potato,
say
tomato,
Steve.
tomato.
And you can say
Let's-
Steve or Stev.
Well, since my name is Steven, first name, and it's with a PH, so people would call me Steven. I'm like, you can't shorten it to Steve, but you could shorten it to Sven. See, Sven. So I was like, call me Sven. Do not call me Steve, because you cannot shorten that. So you see what I'm saying? It's like the same argument there, Jeff.
So if we go to Sven, so then you have to drop the PH and go to the V, and that's
But
how
the
you got
PH
Sven.
No, Steven, Sven. Get it? Steven, Sven. It's how pronounced Steven. By the way, I was named, as my parents say, Stephen with the PH was the first king of Hungary, and my dad's, Hungarian, so I thought that was cool.
So how do you get Stefan?
Well, Stefan has an AN, Jeff. And this is where people that are over 30 understand that, but people under 30, it's always pronounced Stefan.
Stefan.
So, yeah, that's
Stefan.
really, yep. So that was a pretty cool ad. I wanted to talk a little bit about this next tweet right here, because again, sometimes you hear stuff that is just so spot on. It's so simple, and you go like, yeah, we gotta talk about that. But Craig DeWitt, if you guys don't know who Craig DeWitt is, he is the product manager over at Ripple. He goes by the Crypto Cowboy. And let's put this tweet up on screen so you guys can see it. But this is beautifully done. He says, people aren't buying assets. They're selling dollars. An interesting quote from a longtime markets pro. I love that, Jeff. People are not buying assets. They're selling their dollars. It kind of speaks to the whole inflation thing. They're getting rid of their dollars and they're putting it into assets, whether it's gold, whether it's silver, the precious metals, or let's say, it's anything that's not depreciating as fast as we have when it comes to the US dollar. And of course, this is happening to the euro. And of course, it's happening to the Australian dollars. It's basically happening worldwide. It's not just a unique scenario to the US. But I love that quote. I just thought that was spot on.
They're buying assets and selling dollars.
That's what it is.
What was the quote?
The quote was, people aren't buying assets, they're selling dollars.
I like that.
Ah, man,
I like
it's
it.
so strong, man.
You know, it's interesting too, because if you look at the deflationary asset versus an inflationary asset, you know, how is it that you have an increase in the value of all these assets, but you have a decrease in the value of the dollar? Right. So they're all happening simultaneous. And I think, you know, we've never seen it like now. Now it's going to become, you know, hyper focused on the fact that you're going to have, and it's not just the US dollar, it's currency in general is going through, you know, a major, you know, inflationary time. And so we're going to see this where the asset, you know, if you're going to take your dollar goes a lot less, you know, with Bitcoin now. You know, when Bitcoin was $3,000, you could obviously get a lot more Bitcoin. But now, you know, the US dollar, look at, you know, now if you're close to 70,000 Bitcoin, or with XRP, it was 20 cents. Now it's hovering in the $1 to 130 cent mark. So
yeah, right on.
I do like that. I like that, you know, the
Can we
thought
put that on a
process
shirt, Jeff? Is that right? Can we put that on a shirt? Maybe we can Google that, see if anybody said it. But I like to put it on a shirt. People aren't buying assets, they're selling dollars. I love it. Or we can say selling pesos or selling euros. You know, we can have a couple different flavors of that, so it makes sense.
I like it. That would be cool. Let's do it.
Well, why not? I don't see why we wouldn't do it. So here's another great thing here. You got Gary Gensler put out another.
Oh God.
There we go, right there. Let's put
what
us
is
over here.
Up with him?
He's a nut job. He goes, we just issued new rules, the SEC, that gives shareholders more say in who directs the companies they own. Now, I love tweets, but I love tweets more that are put out by our own OTC family, and Robert Moore has crushed it here.
Solid. He says, this was awesome.
He goes, hey, Gary, who are you putting these videos out for? You have 206,000 Twitter followers, and all the comments on this page are trashing you. That says a lot about you and how you're running the SEC as chairman. You should listen more and talk less. I love that. Hey, Gary, listen more, talk less. That's a big. I like that. Hey, Gary. That'll be the shirt. Hey, Gary, listen more, talk less. You know, and you have a Gensler with a weird face, and that's why you have 2 ears and only 1 mouth. Boom! Slammed him.
Classic, man. That's awesome.
I don't know if Robert Morris is in the chat tonight, but I love that, man. That was really some good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
today?
Perfect. I thought I saw him in here earlier. If he's in here, maybe he can throw in a little note about
throw a
now.
little note, but that's a solid, beautifully well done tweet, executed, perfect.
Hey, see that ship? You've already got a buyer right there for the shirt.
Oh, there you go. Barbara Taylor's all in. Yeah, she's all in. I like that. We got to write these ideas down, Jeff. We talk about all these things. We're like, wait a minute, what were we going to make a shirt of? Hopefully, Hans Loaded or somebody's writing these ideas down, what we can do.
I've got a list in the keep file of shirt ideas.
But Jeff, I saw this project, and I got to get your take on this, right? Because let's get your take on this. So check this out. Crypto bartering network Anoma raises 26 million, led by Polychain Capital. So instead of exchanging goods for money, Anoma's vision returns to bartering, where anyone can trade goods for goods and then back again. You know, kind of like the way things started back before we had, you know, gold and before we had fiat currency. So, you know, we just traded stuff. Hey, I'll give you a cow for 2 chickens.
Kind of cool. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with bartering. The bartering system works great until you've got nothing to barter.
Well, that's part of it. So the idea. So they say with all the advances in tech, digitalization, cryptocurrency, why not expand on the original tenets of bartering? It sounds good on its face, right?
It does. It's great. I'll barter you. I'll barter you for XRP.
Yeah.
I'll give you XRP in exchange for whatever.
XRP. Let's do it. 1 to 1.
Robert is here.
Robert
is in the house.
He's in there. Nice one, man. Nice tweet. Commend you on that. At its core, money is operated as grease to smooth the transaction of goods between various parties. Though you may have the latest Nike Air Jordans, for instance, that doesn't mean you can use those shoes to buy your groceries. Instead, you'd first have to sell the sneakers for cold, hard cash. The above example highlights some of the key failures of bartering as we understand it. First, you need to find a market, blah, blah, blah. We know all that. Money essentially solves this issue by making it easier to coordinate markets between two different parties. It's an extra step in the exchange, but there's not really an alternative. Anoma believes they could provide that alternative. So it's a layer 1 protocol. Lets anyone create any kind of market, be it simple cryptocurrency swaps like Bitcoin for Ethereum or something more complex like a batch of first edition NFTs for, say, carbon credits. Now, that would be the dumbest thing you'd ever do. Who in the hell, Jeff, would burn really useful NFTs for a tax, which is carbon credits?
I love carbon credit. Carbon credit, it's so brilliant. Think about how smart someone was to come up with this idea of a carbon credit, because you're basically taxing people for nothing, right? It is complete taxation without representation. It's perfect. It's the perfect tax because you don't spend it on anything.
Yeah.
It's just free money. It's like, oh, we're charging you a carbon. Oh, and it's voluntary. And go over to Europe and you're flying, you do whatever. You can pay your carbon credits. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Voluntary carbon credits. Yeah, I'm going to donate. It's a donation.
Right. And, the last time we had taxation without representation, a little war broke out and we separated from Britain. That's what happened, Jeff. That was all over. That was the Boston Tea Party. That was the whole idea of the being taxed without representation. Now we've got people joyfully throwing money at it because they think they're saving the planet and they're just paying a tax. Isn't that nice? Yeah. So I don't know, Jeff. It says it could be argued that much of the flexibility promised by Anoma already exists on platforms like Cosmos, Ethereum, and other smart contracts. It'll be a chain agnostic, meaning any token, regardless of token standard, could be swapped for any other token. If Alice wants to swap Bitcoin for Ethereum, she could do this without having to wrap the Bitcoin. Yeah, great, but that's called a DEX as far as I'm concerned. So it's built with zero knowledge privacy, meaning that Alice's on-chain token swap would be hidden from onlookers. Okay. Whether these differences will be enough to earn a Anoma market share remains to be seen, but with the additional financial, it's amazing they threw $24 million at this, Jeff. Do you see?
Not understanding the problem.
There is no problem. They just made it up. The problem is already solved. It's called a DEX. You could go to Uniswap and swap anything for for anything else. You have a built-in decentralized exchange in the in XRPL. I mean, what are they? This is one of they invented a problem to solve that doesn't exist.
That's it. It doesn't exist yet. Or they got their nice solution all packaged up neatly and nothing.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, Jeff?
No. Barterable bull.
Yeah, barter a bull. Yeah, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, Jeff. I mean, quite honestly, maybe it does, maybe it's one of those things where you go like, I don't get it. And then all of a sudden it takes off. But it's got to be more. I see bartering. Now, if bartering had something more to do with, let's say, I don't know, it wasn't crypto related, but if you call it a different name, it's still the same thing, right? You go anywhere and swap something for another based on the rate and money, the market makers and anything else.
It's called a different project.
Right. They just called it a different name.
Doing the same thing. Yeah.
They called it bartering. Bartering is, hey, you remember there was a number of years ago, there was sort of a, some guy, he had a pin, he had a safety clip or whatever, one of these, a paper clip, and he wanted to trade it for a car. So the first thing he did, this was like early days of the internet, he traded it for something else and he got a bigger object. He traded that up, ended up with an old truck, traded that. He kept trading. Now that's bartering, right? Now bartering isn't value for value. Now, if I exchange XRP for XLM, I'm not giving you one-to-one because obviously one has a better, higher value. You're not doing one-to-one. Now that is bartering if you go ahead and say, well, I'll do one-to-one. Okay. But if you say, I've got 3 chickens, can I have 1 pig? Okay, there's an inherent value in both of them, but on the agreement of a barter, that's what bartering really is, right? And that's what happens.
That's real bartering, yeah. And then
that's
you
a real
end up
barter.
you end up trading your seashells for something because you ran out of chickens.
She sells seashells down by the seashore. Come on, Jeff, 4 times fast.
Hey, did you? Did you give a shout out to XRP Speedboat?
I don't think I did.
For the support he threw out there last night at the midnight hour.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. And
I missed that.
So it's completely off topic now, based on the comment there. But his comment was, have Gary call Bank of Canada for a commodity answer. But
There you go.
it was relevant last night, you know, when the
It's always
comment came
relevant.
through, but I figured I'd give XRP Speedboat a shout out. But you know, Gary should be doing something.
So I wanted to play this because Ted Cruz, who is just crushing it. I want to play this video by him. He basically talks about creating wealth, entrepreneurs, Bitcoin mining with the enormous opportunities, and he totally nails Congress that could totally screw it up. Let's listen in.
I have to say, I think cryptocurrency and Bitcoin mining provide enormous opportunities. They're creating vast amounts of wealth. They're creating a hedge for people against inflation. Inflation is a growing concern across the country. They're creating entrepreneurs in all 50 states. I'm also particularly proud that my home state of Texas is becoming an oasis for the blockchain community, for Bitcoin miners, for innovators and entrepreneurs in the crypto world. Unfortunately, the one thing that is capable of screwing all of this up is the United States Congress. And
Jeff, you nailed it. The one thing that's capable of screwing this entire thing up is the United States Congress. He's part of Congress, but he's nailing it. The one entity that's dumber than a box of rocks is the U.S. Congress, right?
Man.
And I have deep concerns that Congress is already in the process of doing so. As most people watching this hearing know, in the recently passed so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill, there are provisions targeting and inflicting enormous harms on the crypto industry. As originally drafted, the infrastructure package contained a provision that expands the definition of broker to nearly all participants in the cryptocurrency structure, treating them as a financial institution, which means they have to report consumer information to the IRS, even if those participants don't have access to that information. Additionally, the infrastructure bill included language incorporating digital assets into Section 6050I of the Internal Revenue Code, which states that in a broad range of scenarios, any person who receives over $10,000 in digital assets must verify the sender's personal information, including Social Security number, and sign and submit a report to the government within 15 days. And failure to comply results in mandatory fines and can be a felony with up to 5 years in prison. We have seen how crypto poses a threat to totalitarian regimes. For that reason.
Ooh, what do you have to say about that, Jeff?
That is a massive statement, and he's about to follow this up with something really strong and poignant. But man, everything that he's saying is 100% accurate. And I'm looking at some of the commentary here. You know, Sean Thompson is saying, you know, Senator Cruz is right. 2Dub is saying that Congress is full of dinosaurs. This is really, really spot on. And, you know, we're obviously surrounded by a lot of numbskulls over there that just can't figure it out. Or can they figure it out? They know exactly what they're doing. You know, the ultimate position that they try to present to the people is that everything's confusing, that they're confused, that they don't know any better, that they don't understand, that they don't know. And then when they do that, they orchestrate this mode of chaos. Then they get away with all sorts of stuff because you can hide a lot of insanity and chaos. And right now, what we're seeing presented in front of us is exactly that. And so, man, Cruz is just spot on. I mean, and what he's about to get, you know, I think you need to back that up.
I did. I backed it up a little bit so we can hear it in its
oh man.
So we can hear it in its entirety. But let's listen in.
Yep.
Crypto poses a threat to totalitarian regimes. For that reason, the Chinese Communist government recently acted to ban Bitcoin mining. And the sad reality of Congress legislating in this matter, I can speak at least for the Senate. I doubt there are 5 members of the United States Senate that could tell you what the hell a Bitcoin is. And legislating is always a messy process, but when it comes to legislating in an area where most members of this body have very little familiarity with the details, it is highly perilous.
which goes to, some of the things that we were talking about yesterday. I mean, that's just spot on. It's so amazing. We were talking about how, it's really up to them. It's up to them to do the right thing. And we're reviewing, some of the legislation that has been put in front of Congress. Right now, there's a bill sitting in front of the Senate, and they can't even vote on a workshop bill to allow the CFTC and the SEC to workshop crypto. But yet they're okay with cramming crypto legislation that, then, like he's saying, they don't even understand what they're doing, and so, but they have some semblance. And he pointed that out. A government like China understands the threat that decentralization poses to that totalitarian regime. Why? Because you're putting the power into the hands of the people, not into the hands of the dictatorial government. And that is saying a lot of things, especially right now in the political climate that we're seeing unfold all the way through the school boards in this country and beyond, where we need to see the power in the hands of the people. And it's not just in the United States. To me, it's everywhere in the world right now. People are seeing the digital asset space as a mechanism of freedom, of taking control of their life. And you don't have to look that far. Look at the fall in Lebanon, with the banking issues that just happened over the past year. And then you can go down to Venezuela and beyond, and this is just the reason why I think, Chip, the U.S. is such an epicenter for this conversation right now is because we went from the bastion of freedom and economic well-being in a short period of time, falling off of that pedestal. And when the world elevates to a level to where they put the country on a pedestal, right or wrong, they elevated the United States as the one that you have to achieve, right, to get to that level. And I can remember growing up, I grew up overseas, but when I was growing up, they thought that if you could only move to the United States, you'd get here and the streets would be paved with gold, and not, but that was the idea. But you know what, Chip? People come to the United States for the dream, for the American dream, to be able to take personal responsibility for their success. Come all the way to now, and that's where cryptocurrency is giving that dream back to the people, and it is a direct threat.
So. Oh yeah, without a doubt, and you're right. But it's also spread worldwide, and it's been adopted into other areas. And funny enough, I mean, it's kind of spot on with this next story here. We always say we the people because it's in the preamble to the Constitution, but the Constitution DAO hits 30 million in Ethereum raised one day before the Sotheby's auction. So they are auctioning off there's one of the constitutions that's privately held. It's going to be auctioned at Sotheby's, famous auction house, but there it is right there. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, blah, blah, blah. You know the rest, Jeff. But so they formed last week, just a week ago, to buy a copy of the U.S. Constitution at auction. They've raised $30 million in a week, Jeff. This is incredible.
That's amazing.
They're going to purchase a copy of the Constitution. The initial DAO goal was to raise 15 to 20 million, which is the auction house's estimated value. So they're way over on that, and attracted 15,000 contributors, donating an average of 2,000 each. Last night, NFT curation studio and investment firm Metaversal contributed 1 million. Now, here's the funny thing about this. This does not give you ownership of the Constitution. As a DAO, you get voting rights. So you get to vote where it's going to be held, where it's going to be publicly displayed. But it's not like you're getting fractional ownership or anything which is incredible. And it's in itself. The extra money will function as a safety net in case of a bidding war. The Constitution DAO assured contributors that if it loses the auction or has leftover money, it returns the funds to its members. But the DAO hasn't specified how exactly the process will work if fractional refunds are deemed necessary. Here it is right there. We're buying the Constitution. It'll be governed by the people. So here's an interesting concept, Jeff. The whole idea of the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, what they're purchasing here, which I think is kind of interesting because It's one of the first constitutions that tells the government what it can't do, not what it can do. A lot of them are like, well, the government can do this, and the government can punch you in the face, and the government can destroy you, and the government can do all these things. This tells the government what it cannot do, right? And it's been a little bit hard. It's taken us over 200 plus years, 35 some plus years to try to skirt the Constitution, go around it, go under it, write laws that are supposed to be about, that are already in the Constitution. But I like this whole idea of buying the Constitution and then true governance. Now, this in itself is a big setup for how the first government is going to be run by a DAO. We don't need representatives. We, the people, get the vote. We'll govern ourselves. Thank you very much. We don't need you. Have a great life. We'll cut out a lot of the corruption. We'll put up amendments to vote on, and then the people will vote, and we'll be able to organize. So now we're going into a whole brand new realm, and this is another threat to governments, right, Jeff?
Oh, it definitely is. So that's an interesting thought that we could have a whole long-winded conversation about. Which is, in this country, do we have a representative democracy, or a representative republic, or a pure democracy? I don't believe it without that kind of technology. A pure democracy would never work, or it's never going to bring the freedom that people think that it's going to bring. So there could be inherent, flaws within it, but I don't know. I mean, it's something that we'd have to dissect and really, workshop over a period of time. But I like the idea that at the ultimate objective here is that the government is in the hands of the people, because the government, it was supposed to do be there for the will of the people. The people aren't there for the will of the government. And so bringing this DAO and this idea of the Constitution is really owned by the people. And that's 100% accurate, and so, man, I mean, the possibilities of getting to that point would be, it's amazing, right? Think about, even just from a voting perspective, put voting into a DAO structure, put voting on the blockchain, right? One person, one vote, and that's it. You're done. And that's it, and there is no, I just found a whole bunch of votes in my trunk. It just not going to work that way. So a lot of exciting possibilities, Chip.
Yeah, a ton of exciting possibilities. And it's just, to me, it's just amazing. It's amazing time to be alive, where, some people get to see the internet boom, and so you have two of these massive things inside of a lifetime. And who knows what the next thing is?
Three things, right? You had the hardware boom, right, of the 80s, which was not a boom per se, but it was a boom.
We had
there was
Apple
a lot that
computers,
happened.
thank God.
Yeah, Apple and Microsoft battling it out.
No one cared
And
about
then
Microsoft.
you have the internet, right? Now you have crypto. All three of them kind of tie together. So you have the hardware
Yes.
computer boom, personal computers, and then on and on. But Run is funny. Run Gensler is a security maxi. That's another
Yeah.
good t-shirt idea.
Bank Maxi, yeah, you name it,
Okay.
buddy, helping out his buddies everywhere. But again, if it's your first time here, last time here, if it's your fifth time here, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. Click that notification bell, subscribe, and then you're basically in like Flynn, as they say, Jeff. Well, that's all I have, Jeff. I know we ran a little bit longer because we were catching up, but anyway, that's what we got.
Awesome.
You got
And
anything?
it is what we got. What I got is that, man, we are streaming, Chip, 6 days a week. And there was some commentary. Someone put in a comment on one of our videos yesterday that said, how amazing it is that we're streaming 6 days a week, that we're pulling the community together and everything that we do. And so much of it goes out, to the community, and how we have by far the smartest in all of YouTube crypto space and beyond. They're all gathering here. And it's fantastic seeing the show, which are all the comments in the show and after the show as well. But we do stream 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And by the way, Berserker is streaming live right
Right after
now.
this.
So I think there was a link that was thrown in there. Hans Loden might even have a link to throw it in there. If you want to throw in the link, that'd be awesome. And then you guys can go check out Berserker's channel. A lot of great conversation that goes on over there. Looking forward to seeing everybody back in here tomorrow night, because Chip, tomorrow is another OTC night, and it will be Thursday.
Yeah, right on. And then I just want to say, if you come to the site, obviously you can, if you miss something,
Oh, there you go. Well,
podcast. I mean, that's tonight's show, but there you can see everything. You can basically click in anything you missed. And of course, there's all the links to the show. You can listen to the podcast. You can listen to it in voice, audio only. You can watch the show, and there's a bunch of links to all the shows, the stuff post. So you can see all the stuff we talk about, which is really cool. And then the best way to contact us, just go to this contact where we're starting to get more emails, which is really cool. But you can send us an email right here. There you go.
Oh,
see, like John Doe's already emailing us. John Doe Crypto.
Yep. And we got an email earlier too. So
and you can support us as well if you want. But that's all you got. That's all I got, Jeff. And then we are out of here. That's all I have.
That's it.
So
I'm looking forward to seeing you back on here tomorrow night.
Yep, we'll be back here tomorrow night, and we will see you on the next one. Chip and Jeff out.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.